Hello, my name is Brad Otto. I'm the Director of Operations here at Faith Direct. Thank you for joining the second training video on the Church Administrator website. In this training video, we will be reviewing the donor lookup menu item, which is what we use to look up donors that are associated or giving to your church. We also use this to edit donor records, as well as we access donor gifts and their giving history. So we use this donor lookup after we've logged into the Church Administrator website. In the main navigation menu, the third item over is the donor lookup. We will click on it there in order to bring up our search page. You can see here that we've got several search criteria on the donor lookup. We have the church name or ID field. If you're managing more than one church, you could use this drop-down to select the church in which that donor participates to look them up. We also have the last name and first name fields. You can enter just a couple of the first letters for a last name or first name. If you want to look them up without entering the entire name, you can do that. You can also enter their state, zip, and whether or not they've quit the program. Lastly, we also have the Faith Direct ID and the Church Assigned ID fields. Throughout this website, we'll be referring to the Church Assigned ID, and that Church Assigned ID is often used interchangeably with the envelope number. So when your parishioners first enroll in the program, if they enter their envelope number, then you would see that information in the Church Assigned ID field. And if you need to edit it, or if they didn't enter one and you wanted to enter one, that Church Assigned ID field is where we would put that information. Okay. Lastly, we can search by whether or not the donor record has an assigned ID listed with it. So if you want to search just for users that don't have a church assigned ID, so that you can update all of them, you can check that checkbox, and then it will return results for you for anyone who doesn't have an assigned ID associated with their Faith Direct account. All right. You can also leave all of these fields blank and hit the search button, and what that will do is return for you the listing of all of your users who are using Faith Direct. And those are going to be sorted by their last name. So you can see that we have listed here the Faith Direct ID number, which is blue on the left-hand side. We have the church name. We have the first name and last name for the users. Again, that's sorted. This entire list is sorted alphabetically by last name. We also have the state that the user's account is in, their zip code, whether or not they've quit the program, their inception date, and the inception date is the date that they enrolled in the Faith Direct program. And lastly, we have the church assigned ID number, or again, envelope number. So in order to access one of these donor accounts, what we do is we click on the Faith Direct ID number. So we will click on this ID number for demo user 48409, and that brings us to the personal information page of the donor record. You can see that we have listed here the individual's salutation, their name information, their address, any telephone numbers that are associated with their account, as well as their email address. In this top section, everything that is in blue is editable. We do not allow you to edit email addresses at this time because they are used for user login, so we want to make sure that we don't interrupt your parishioner's login process by editing their email address. You can also see at the very top here the inception date, so the day that they enrolled in the program. You can see whether or not they've opted to have Faith Direct send them offertory cards, and you can see whether or not their account is quit. In most cases, this will be blank, and if they have quit the program, this would be, you would see a Y in that field. All right, and then in the second section here, we have the family salutation, card name, and spouse name. This is all information that would have been specified by the users when they enrolled in the program. Family salutation is made up of the prefix and the last name. The card name is if they've specified what they would like to have listed on their offertory cards. And then spouse name if they've entered their spouse name when they enrolled in the program. In the section on the right here, we do have that church assigned ID field, which does list what we're considering also the envelope number for this particular user. We've got the ID lock, yes or no field. And what this field does is it when you lock an ID number, then that makes it so the user can't change that information when they log into their account. So once you've locked an ID number, that field becomes grayed out on the membership site. Many of our churches do collect import files, which they use to upload any of their donors' donations each month into their census software. Many census softwares do use that church assigned ID or that envelope number to import those contributions. So by locking it, we make sure that once someone at the church has verified that that's the correct ID number, the user can't go in later and change that information. Now, if you do reassign envelope numbers or ID numbers within your own census software, you can always come in at any time and as an administrator edit this information, but this does keep the end user from editing it. We also have the church member ID field here, which allows you to use 2 different unique IDs if your software does require 2 different IDs when you import. And then we also have the payment type field, which displays for you whether or not this user is using a credit card or a bank account to make their Faith Direct donations to your parish. All right, so that's everything that's available to you here in the personal information button. We'll go now to the pledges button and click on that in the secondary navigation menu, and that's going to load up for us then everything that demo user is set to give to the Faith Direct demo church. This is only going to display active gifts, so gifts that would be processing the next time we process donations if they are being processed in that particular month. So for example, weekly offertory will be processing monthly, and the amount is going to be dependent on the number of Sundays. In August of 2011, there's 4 Sundays, so weekly offertory would process for a total of $40. The Catholic University collection here, you can see that they signed up for $25 in this amount column, and that this collection is only processing in September, so this would process just that one time in September. And then we've got also here the Building and Maintenance Fund that signed up for monthly, so this is also going to be processing monthly, much like the weekly offertory is. We also have here the start date. In many cases, this start date column is going to be when they first enrolled for that contribution. So you can see that demo user set up these gifts on the 12th of May 2011. And then to the right of that, we have the end date column. In most cases, that end date is going to be that 12/31/2099, which is just the default for our system. If your church does have any type of a pledge or capital campaign where donors may have set up 36 gifts or they may have set up 60 gifts, you'll see then a different end date in there. And what that's going to do is make sure that after they've met their pledge, that particular donation is no longer being processed. And then the last column here is the last withdrawal field, and that will just display for you the last time that that gift was processed or attempted to be processed. All right, so that's everything that's available to you on the Pledges menu item in the secondary navigation, and we'll move now then over to the Giving History. And what this giving history does show for you is the history of this user's donations to your church. So we can see the demo user processed donations in June, and you can see that they processed 4 weekly offertory donations. These were all for $10, and the dates that are set up for all weekly gifts does actually display the Sundays for those contributions, even though they were all processed there with that 4th of the month donation or processing period. You can see that we've listed the appeal name, so we do have the weekly offertory listed there. And then lastly, we have the status. So that displays whether or not the gift was approved, declined, or if perhaps the person had called later and wanted a refund. Maybe they accidentally put in too much money and wanted a refund for a certain amount. You would see that listed here. So this information will update as we process donations. After we process donations each month, you'll see whether or not these users' contributions were approved or declined, or whether at any point they've opted for a refund. If you do want to look up any additional users, you can use Donor Search over here on the right-hand side of your screen, or you can click on Donor Lookup. And that will bring you right back here then to the Donor Lookup page. If you have any questions about the Donor Lookup, please feel free to give us a call here at 866-507-8757. You can also send us an email at info@faithdirect.net. In the 3rd training video, we will be discussing the Reports menu item and the 3 reports that are available to you. Thank you.